Microsoft's 4,800 layoffs compel business leaders to secure workforce transformation and build sustainable AI growth. If you think the tech landscape is stable, Microsoft's latest move, cutting 4,800 positions, or about 2.1% of its global footprint, will completely change your perspective on corporate survival. You need to understand that this massive workforce shift includes 605 workers right in Washington state, with 493 hitting the Redmond mothership and 112 hitting remote teams. When you look closely at these 4,800 job cuts, you will realize this isn't just standard corporate downsizing. It is a profound reallocation of corporate capital directly into AI infrastructure. Impact Solutions emphasizes that you must stop viewing workforce numbers through a legacy lens and start looking at them as pure capital redeployment. If your business relies on traditional tech sales structures, you should know that Microsoft is heavily cutting traditional commercial sales and consulting roles to pivot toward technical engineering. You might be surprised to learn that Microsoft just launched a staggering $2.5 billion initiative to embed 6,000 deep technical AI engineers directly into client environments. This means you are witnessing a complete shift where traditional sales roles are being aggressively substituted by deep technical architecture expertise to force enterprise AI adoption. If you look at the gaming sector, the pain is even more severe because the Xbox division is absorbing a massive 3,200 total job cuts throughout this fiscal year. You should know that 1,600 of those Xbox employees were let go immediately, with another 1,600 positions scheduled to be phased out through fiscal 2027. To put things in perspective for your own operations, this means Xbox is wiping out roughly 20% of its entire global workforce in a sweeping operational reset. You can see the structural desperation when you realize Xbox has been operating at profit margins 3 to 10 times lower than its core platform and publishing competitors. If you want to know how bad it got, internal leaks reveal that some acquired studios were shockingly losing 64 cents for every single dollar Microsoft invested in them. You will see an unprecedented corporate retreat as Microsoft spins off or divests 4 major game studios: Compulsion Games, Double Fine, Ninja Theory, and Undead Labs, while putting a 5th under intense structural review. Impact Solutions points out that you are watching a multi-year restructuring playbook unfold, completely replacing the old concept of isolated one-time cost-cutting events. If you look back at their recent history, you can see this trend clearly since Microsoft cut 15,000 global roles in 2025 following a massive 10,000-person layoff wave in early 2023. You must take note of how they are leveraging voluntary exits, especially after they targeted a voluntary retirement program to 8,750 eligible employees. You should study the fact that roughly 30% of those 8,750 employees accepted the buyout, proving that modern workforce planning requires a mix of voluntary packages and targeted terminations. When you evaluate the broader market, you will see that global hyperscale technology companies are projected to spend well over $350 billion in capital expenditures this year alone. If you zoom out to the total industry scale, tech giants are on track to top $700 billion in absolute AI infrastructure outlays, piling immense pressure on executives to prove immediate financial returns. You need to understand that Microsoft alone is projecting a massive $80 billion investment specifically for AI-ready data centers and cloud infrastructure during fiscal 2026. As you watch the global generative AI market explode past $100 billion this year, you must realize that enterprise AI spending is forecasted to grow by more than 25% annually for the foreseeable future. When you hear Chief People Officer Amy Coleman state that these 4,800 roles are not being directly replaced by AI, you must look past the headline and see the deeper structural reality. You must recognize that while AI isn't sitting in those physical chairs, generative automation is fundamentally changing how work is executed and what specialized skills you need to demand. Impact Solutions reminds you that your primary executive focus must switch from absolute headcount numbers to accelerating revenue per employee metrics through automated workflows. If you fail to redesign your workflows before cutting headcount, you run a massive risk of weakening your customer acquisition, partner relationships, and post-sales execution. You cannot afford to let your processes break down, especially when mature enterprise software contracts routinely exceed 3 to 5 years in duration. You must protect your core because customer retention typically drives more than 70% of annual recurring revenue for established, mature enterprise software businesses. When you look at the explosive growth of the cloud computing market, which is actively scaling into a sector valued at over $900 billion, you must ensure your talent matches that scale. L-Impact Solutions strongly advises you to dynamically allocate 3% to 7% of your annual payroll budget directly toward workforce reskilling, digital certifications, and internal mobility. If your organization is spending millions on technology infrastructure, you must mandate that every single AI project carries explicit human capital productivity targets alongside its financial ROI goals. You should instantly ditch annual talent planning cycles and replace them with rigorous, continuous quarterly workforce analytics. To maintain a resilient organization, you need to actively monitor AI utilization rates, operating profit per employee, and internal redeployment ratios every single quarter. You should set an aggressive benchmark to push your internal talent redeployment rates above 60% to successfully retain critical institutional knowledge. Your goal should be to drive voluntary learning participation past 80% and digital certification completion above 70% across your entire active workforce. If you manage a commercial sales organization, you need to deploy automation to eliminate the administrative tasks that currently devour 20% to 30% of your salespeople's working hours. By freeing up that 20% to 30% of administrative time, you enable your frontline teams to focus exclusively on strategic enterprise accounts and high-value solution selling. You can easily protect your recurring revenues and lower operational costs by integrating AI-assisted forecasting, automated CRM tracking, and intelligent proposal generation. You must establish strict technology governance where any AI capital investment exceeding predefined thresholds undergoes mandatory financial, cybersecurity, and talent risk assessments. When you greenlight an AI project, you should expect it to deliver a clear 10% to 20% improvement in operating costs within the first 18 to 24 months. You should hold your implementation teams accountable for achieving a 30% to 50% reduction in customer response times through these digital workflows. Your operational baseline for new technology should require automated workflow coverage to exceed 40% while generating overall productivity gains above 15%. You need to transform your leadership development from an informal, nice-to-have initiative into a highly structured, measurable investment matrix. Every single one of your managers overseeing digital transformation must complete formal training in data literacy, AI governance, change management, and financial analysis. If you build this deep management capability, you will create far greater organizational resilience than competitors who rely purely on repeated layoffs to balance their books. L-Impact Solutions recommends that you integrate predictive workforce forecasting into every major infrastructure decision at least 24 to 36 months before implementation. You must map out your future demand for cloud architects, data governors, cybersecurity experts, and digital sales specialists long before you sign off on massive capital budgets. This extended 24 to 36-month planning horizon gives you the runway needed for gradual upskilling, completely neutralizing the need for sudden, disruptive corporate downsizings. You should build a live workforce risk dashboard to monitor operational health metrics, rather than waiting for an annual HR review to expose vulnerabilities. Your executive team should actively target an internal mobility rate above 25% annually to keep talent flowing to your highest return digital initiatives. To preserve stability during intense technological transitions, you must keep your voluntary employee retention rates safely above 90%. You need to ensure that digital skill coverage across your core business units stands above 75% to handle evolving technological demands. Your operations will run much smoother if you push active AI adoption across all eligible corporate workflows above the 60% mark. You should demand a 95% completion rate for management training modules while keeping overall employee engagement metrics consistently above 80%. When you engage in strategic scenario planning, you must stress test your business against prolonged interest rates remaining above 4% and cooling enterprise software demand. By preparing for multiple economic environments, You ensure that mass workforce disruption never becomes your default reaction to shifting market pressures. Your board of directors must elevate human capital and workforce resilience to the exact same governance tier as cybersecurity compliance and financial reporting. You must ensure that annual digital learning participation consistently clears 80%, while professional certification growth sustains a steady 15% year-over-year increase. For true operational continuity, you should require that every strategic, critical position in your enterprise maintains succession coverage of at least 2 qualified internal candidates. You must realize that the ultimate competitive edge does not belong to the company that cuts the deepest or downsizes the fastest. The victory belongs entirely to you if you can successfully translate disciplined capital allocation and human productivity into soaring revenue per employee and bulletproof operating margins. Is your AI budget creating value or funding your next layoff? Comment below. For more strategic analyses, visit our business consultancy website, link in the description below. Thank you.